Hello, Steamies! Well, we did it. We got through the entire classic era of Thomas and Friends. First of all, a big thank you to everybody who's watched, liked, and commented on the videos so far. Honestly, it means the world to me, and it keeps me motivated to keep doing more of these videos in the future. Now that we've come to the end of the classic era, I thought, if I had to put these series into a top list, what would be my personal favourite? We need to ask no more. This is my top 7 Thomas and Friends classic era series. I'm excluding Jack and the Sodor Construction Company from it because when Jack and the Sodor Construction Company was first released, it was during the hit entertainment era, and I think I should put it in amongst that list if I ever decide to do it. Once again, these are my own personal opinions, and no doubt your list would be different from mine. That's the one thing that makes the Thomas fandom so unique. And please let me know in the comments what's your favourite classic era series. All I ask is that you be respectful, and above all, enjoy the video. Okay, let's dive in. Number 7, Series 6. Well, this certainly wasn't the worst Thomas series overall. Out of the classic era, it's definitely not the best. I'm not saying that there aren't any good points in Series 6. Salty the Dockyard Diesel became a crucial character in the series going forward, and he is a fan favourite. Some of the episodes I thoroughly enjoyed, i.e. Salty's Secret, and the Gorton Takes a Tumble crash was definitely a highlight of the series as a whole. However, I think the failings of this series are more down to the circumstances of the time than the actual series itself. This was the series that was created right after the critical failure of Thomas and the Magic Railroad. The engines no longer had their gloss finish, which literally took the shine off the engines. Britt Allcroft was understandably shaken from the experience of Thomas and the Magic Railroad, so I don't think she was feeling 100% confident going into Series 6. That's just my own opinion. And the fact that Ghislaine were pretty much taking control, it didn't feel like classic Thomas, especially not the series before it. Number 6, Series 7. Yes, there were issues with the narrow gauge engine episodes, but overall I think that Series 7 was actually an improvement on Series 6, particularly down to the characters that were introduced. Characters such as Emily and Spencer became integral to the show going forward, and others such as Murdoch, Arthur, Fergus are all fondly remembered by Thomas fans. I know that David Mitton was dealing with personal issues during filming of the series, but it didn't seem to translate over with his body of work. Overall, they put together a great final series for the classic era, and for me, it just narrowly edges out Series 6. Number 5, Series 3. This series has one of my favourite episodes on it. Again, I think the failings were down to circumstances of the time, with Ringo Starr leaving as narrator and Michael Angelis having his debut series in the UK. There had been a considerable gap between the filming of Series 2 and Series 3, including the rise and fall of Tugs, which had also brought issues between Britt Allcroft and David Mitton, and the stories that were adapted from Andrew Brenner were arguably the weakest of the series. That being said, it's still a great season. It was more of an ensemble season where lots of characters had things to do, rather than just focusing on specific characters, and cameos from the City of Truro and the Flying Scotsman's Two Tenders certainly gives it a pass. Number 4, Series 5. Okay, cue all the hate from the Thomas fandom. Yes, Series 5 is not my number 1 pick. I've been upfront from the get-go that I am not the biggest fan of Series 5. I have warmed to it, and I do appreciate it a lot more, but I don't have the nostalgia goggles like everybody else does, so I can see some of the failings in it. Again, I prefer stories about the engines than stories about the human characters, and I know that some of the episodes that I don't like, a lot of fans absolutely adore. And that's fine, you do you. We got cranky out of it. There was a lot of great dramatic, tonal episodes. But for me, it's just not my favourite series. Sorry. Number 3, Series 4. Once again, I can imagine that everybody is going to be keyboard warrioring me right now. Yes, I love the narrow gauge engines. Yes, the scenery is absolutely beautiful. Yes, it felt really comfortable. Yes, Michelangelo's voiceover work was getting progressively better at this point. Yes, in the USA, it was the last series to have George Carlin narrating the episodes. But for me, the ones that I place higher above it just seemed to be better. I do love Series 4, it felt like a return to form after Series 3, but there were failings that I put in my worst episodes list that I just couldn't overlook. Number 2, Series 1. If you're looking for a complete series, one that you could watch completely new to the Thomas fandom from start to finish, and not plan on watching any more if you didn't feel like it was your thing, then this is the series for you. It rounded everything off so well, introduced us to the core characters that we were going to know going forward. Everybody had a good arc. The original aesthetic and design of the series was fantastic, and if that didn't go well, there would be no Thomas going forward. With that in mind, this was made in 1984. There are tons of shows out there that still cannot match the quality and the pure emotion and passion and dedication that this series achieved. The only things that I knock it down for is the fact that the Thomas stories were just boring. By that I mean Thomas in the garden, Thomas goes fishing. Take those out, perfect. And the number 1 series of the classic era, in my opinion, is Series 2. This series has Edward's exploit on it. I could mic drop there, but I'm going to go into more of my reasons. For one, this is my nostalgia series. This series came out in 1986. I was born in 1987. It was the series that I quite literally grew up with, because Series 3 didn't come out to 1992. I had 5 years of Series 2, and boy, it was a great series. It had drama, it had suspense, it was very workmanlike and industrial. By this point, the characters felt lived in, especially the core ones. You knew what they were about. It introduced you to Duck, Diesel, Daisy, Boko, Donald, Douglas, Bill, Ben. Again, I could mic drop there, but I'm going to keep going. There's an episode in this series that genuinely traumatized me as a child, and I did not get over my fear of it until I turned 21. That's going to be another video for another day. But it shows you the impact of Series 2, that an episode from then could have such a long-lasting impact on me as an adult. The world felt lived in. It felt like this was a place where you could go to in real life, like it was a working island, a working class background island as well. I enjoyed that, especially coming from a working class background myself. Of course, Percy had a lot to do in this series as well, which is another reason why I love it so much, because Percy is my favourite character. And even some of the Christopher Audrey stories, which I admit I wasn't the biggest fan of at the time, have grown on me as the years have went by. Whenever I have a bad mental health day, when I'm feeling anxious or depressed, I put on Series 2 of Thomas and Friends as my go-to to make me feel safe, secure, and loved. If I still do that as a grown adult with kids of my own, it shows you the staying power that Series 2 has on me. And that is why it's my favourite series of the classic era of Thomas and Friends. Until next time, keep on chugging.